developing Arctic oil resources. Canada, we can ease the energy crisis, reduce Putin's power, and help ensure Arctic sovereignty with one simple action. We can get this trifecta. Canada needs, though, to get serious in developing its northern oil and gas reserves. We've been aware of vast oil and gas reserves in the northern region since the 50s. Hundreds of wells have already been drilled up there since the 60s, and reams of seismic data have been acquired. It's estimated there's 19.8 trillion cubic feet of natural gas and nearly 2 billion barrels of oil sitting in the Northern Territories. And aside from some production in northern wells in the Liard region, these resources have been sitting untouched. The reserve estimates likely are going to grow greatly if exploration and development actually start resuming again because we have better technology for exploration and extraction. While energy companies invested billions in good faith in Canada trying to develop those reserves, government interference since the 1970s, beginning with the Berger Commission, prevented them from getting any return on their investment. Attempts to get a pipeline from Inuvik to Alberta have been stunted and delayed so long the cost estimates exploded, and companies bailed out of the endeavor once the pipeline was actually finally approved a few years ago. It's just not worth it because the government ruined it. The entire world right now is in the grips of an energy crisis. Increases in the cost of living and inflation due to government borrowing and spending, it's harming citizens in every developed nation on earth. Meanwhile, Putin is rubbing the noses of Western leaders into their own impotence as he continues his war in Ukraine and funds it with energy sold to European nations dependent upon Russia's resources. How humiliating it must feel for the president of Germany to condemn Russian actions in his most strongest of terms while groveling to Russia at the same time to ensure it doesn't cut off the gas shipments. Biden claims to support human rights and green energy, but it kind of rings hollow as he goes cap in hand, begging for more oil from countries with some of the worst human rights and environmental records on the planet. Meanwhile, Canada's sitting on top of some of the most abundant oil and gas resources in the world and can't bring itself to develop it. We've got that moron Trudeau sitting there trying to shut it in. Even if Canada suddenly found the will to expand oil and gas production, it will take some years for the product to come on stream. That said, there's no better time, though, than the present to get on it. Demand for oil and gas isn't going away for decades. Only the most blinded of environmental ideologues can see that by now. Even if it takes a few years for new projects to come into production, we can rest assured hungry world markets will happily purchase the products. The Mackenzie Valley Pipeline's been studied and consulted to death. All that needs to happen right now at this point is for the government to get out of the damn way. There's no need for further delays. Not only will developing northern resources bring much needed oil and gas to the world market, but it will solidify Canada's claims upon the Arctic. Right now, Canada doesn't even have the ability to reach most of the Arctic due to a lack of nuclear submarines or icebreakers. When I worked on the Beaufort Sea in the Arctic, we lent space in our camp to government scientists because they didn't have the resources to go as far north as we did with the energy companies. A leader such as Putin would have a very valid case to make in snatching Canadian Arctic resources. How can we pretend to own them when we can't reach them and we won't develop them? What would we do about it even if Russian exploration began? And what case could we make to the world defending ourselves? The Mackenzie Valley Pipeline project would also come with an all-season road to Inuvik from the south. Currently, only the Dempster Highway reaches that far north, and while it's scenic, it's constantly closed, and it's a long and winding drive. A new road from Yellowknife to Inuvik would be a boon for northern communities living in isolation and unable to develop local resources due to lack of access. Now, Russia just recently announced their plans to extend their Arctic oil and gas development. And let's not pretend that Putin will think twice before extending that development into the ostensibly Canadian portion of the Arctic if given a chance. Canada's northern resources are sitting in a use it or lose it situation. And under our current government, we might be poised to lose it.